Let me introduce myself. I am Marcus Tullius Cicero, bane of tyrants and tyranny. The sinews of war are infinite money. I said that centuries ago, but here we are, watching the endless dance of conflict, greed, and ignorance, as if time itself never marched forward. And yet, dear friend, I implore you, do not mistake our current era for progress. The modern world isn't more enlightened, merely distracted. Rome's republic crumbled not from external invasion, but from the inside, gnawed at by the wolves of apathy, complacency, and ignorance. These, indeed, are the true dangers lurking within any republic, such as yours in the modern world today. Let us begin with the virtues I once extolled: justice, reason, compassion, courage, and wisdom, all standing tall against the encroaching tides of corruption and self-interest. Ah, but I hear you ask, what has this to do with your modern world? A fair question, and I will answer, though I doubt you'll like what I have to say. The world is on fire, and I do not mean merely in the metaphorical sense. The wars in the Middle East and Ukraine rage on, spilling the blood of the innocent, while the fattened purses of the powerful grow heavier with each passing day. Climate change, an issue you, in your modern age, have labeled with all the indifference of a tired bureaucrat, threatens your very existence and that of the natural world. And wealth inequality, the old song of the few gorging themselves on the labor of the many. Your republic is teetering on the same edge that ours once stood upon. And yet, where are your cries for reform? Where is the rallying of citizens to defend the pillars of democracy? You sit, comfortable, complacent, waiting for the inevitable collapse. But fear not, I am here to remind you that it is not too late. For Rome, it was always too late, but you, modern citizens, have a chance, small as it may be. So, let us journey together through the annals of history, from the bustling forums of the Roman Republic to the chaotic halls of your modern governments. Perhaps, just perhaps, you will find within these ancient lessons the wisdom to navigate your current storms. Or perhaps you'll simply scroll away, content to remain ignorant. Either way, the warning has been given. Will you heed it? Or will you too fall to the comfort of apathy? The irony of it all. Here we stand, with the wealth of human history behind us, and yet humanity stumbles forward as if blindfolded, tripping over the same obstacles that brought empires to their knees. I'm not one to sugarcoat it. Rome, for all its grandeur, was often its own worst enemy. And yet, you modern citizens seem determined to outdo us in the art of self-destruction. Now, let's talk about something I know all too well: political apathy. You see, when the Roman people stopped caring about their republic, when they left the Senate to its own devices and turned their backs on civic duty, disaster struck. They didn't even notice the creeping tide of tyranny until it was too late. Julius Caesar was not a lightning bolt from the heavens. He was the product of years of neglect, of citizens trading their civic responsibility for the fleeting comforts of entertainment and distraction. Sound familiar? Look around you. Wars escalate, climate change looms, and wealth inequality grows like a festering wound. And yet, what do most of you do? Scroll, watch, comment, but never act. Political engagement today has been reduced to fleeting opinions expressed online, as if that alone will turn the tide. I must ask, where is the true participation? Where is the fire in the belly to preserve the republic? Now, let me offer a lesson in what happens when civic duty is ignored. Picture the final days of the Roman Republic senators bickering in their lavish robes, citizens too consumed with the spectacle of the Colosseum to notice that their very liberties were being auctioned off. The plebs, too tired or too beaten down by poverty, shrugged and said, "Let them do as they will." And then Caesar crossed the Rubicon. Let that sink in. So, here's my advice to you. Do not let it come to that. Engage, act, fight for your republic. Otherwise, you will one day wake up to find that your freedoms have slipped through your fingers like so much sand, and all the while, you are busy watching from the sidelines. You think it can't happen? That you're somehow different from the Romans of old? History has a way of humbling even the most arrogant of civilizations. I urge you learn from our mistakes before it's too late. But fear not, for this is not the end of the story. There is still time to act, to rekindle the flame of civic engagement. And if you choose to listen, truly listen, then perhaps you will find within yourselves the strength to restore your republic, to breathe new life into the ideals that once made it great. Now, onward to our next chapter, where we will discuss the historical lessons of governance and how they might yet save you from the fate that befell Rome. You won't want to miss this. History, after all, is repeating itself, and you're right in the middle of it. Political disengagement. I could almost laugh if it weren't so tragically ironic. You modern citizens, who hold in your hands the technology to connect to every corner of the earth, yet are more disengaged from your civic duties than ever before. In my time, we relied on speeches, debates in the Senate, and the exchange of ideas in the forum. Today, you have the world's knowledge at your fingertips, but most would rather lose themselves in the endless scroll of distractions. Do you not remember what I warned about the dangers of neglecting civic responsibilities? I once said, "The safety of the people shall be the highest law." And yet, how can the people be safe if they do not care enough to safeguard their own republic? Political apathy is not new. It was just as dangerous in Rome as it is today. The citizens of Rome began to view the affairs of the state as something distant, something for others to worry about. You know where that led, don't you? To Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon, to the end of the Republic and the rise of the Empire. The great irony, of course, is that while you have more power to effect change than any Roman citizen ever did, you squander it on trivialities. It's the height of folly. Voting, once the sacred duty of the citizen, is now treated as an afterthought. Protests and public discourse have become rare, and when they do happen, they're often dismissed as mere noise. Meanwhile, the very institutions that once held your republic together are crumbling under the weight of corporate interests, unchecked ambition, and public indifference. Now, before you throw up your hands in despair and declare all lost, let me remind you of something else. We Romans knew a thing or two about fighting back. Civic virtue, that bedrock of a healthy republic, could still be restored. Active participation in democracy is the antidote to decay. History has shown us the consequences of neglect, and I fear you are hurtling toward the same end. But history, if nothing else, is a great teacher, if only you're willing to listen. You see, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it certainly didn't take long for it to fall. And I can tell you this, a republic left unattended will inevitably rot from within. In our next part, we'll discuss concrete steps to stay the course on the road to liberty, democracy, and freedom. But let me not be accused of pessimism without offering solutions, for what would be the point of my return to these modern times if not to guide you? You see, I did not spend my life in the Senate merely to lament the flaws of the Roman people. I offered them a path forward, as I now offer you. Equality, freedom, liberty. These are not mere words to be thrown about like so many political slogans. They are the very lifeblood of a republic. Without them, your democracy is little more than a facade, a hollow shell ready to crack under the weight of tyranny and corruption. And yet, how lightly you treat them. The growing divide between rich and poor, the erosion of civil liberties, the endless wars fought in distant lands, these are not signs of a healthy society. They are the warning bells that have rung throughout history, from the fall of Athens to the collapse of Rome. And so, what would I say to you, modern citizens? I would remind you that freedom is not free. It requires constant vigilance, active participation, and yes, sacrifice. Liberty is maintained by the vigilance of the people, I once declared, and I stand by it still. You must demand better from your leaders, hold them accountable, and never allow the flame of democracy to flicker out. For once it does, it will not easily be reignited. And what of your responsibility to one another? The growing inequality in your society is not merely an economic problem, it is a moral one. A republic cannot stand if it allows its citizens to suffer in poverty while the wealthy hoard their fortunes. There is no liberty without justice, and there is no justice without equality. You must strive for a society where all have the opportunity to prosper, not just the fortunate few. But let me not end on a note of doom. There is hope yet, if only you choose to embrace it. The Renaissance spirit that your channel so passionately advocates is precisely what you need in these troubled times. It is a spirit of learning, of questioning, of rediscovery. It is a mindset that refuses to accept ignorance or complacency and instead strives for excellence in all things, just as the great thinkers of the Renaissance once did. To those of you watching, I urge you, do not let the lessons of history go unheeded. You live in an age where knowledge is abundant and ignorance is a choice. Choose wisely. Engage with your world, with your communities, and with the issues that matter. Embrace the Renaissance spirit in all its forms, and perhaps, just perhaps, you will find within yourselves the power to build a better future. Thank you for watching. Our channel, The Renaissance Spirit, is dedicated to the pursuits of a just, equitable, and humanitarian world. We delve into history, politics, religion, personal development, and much more. The Renaissance itself was a golden age of knowledge, a rediscovery of the lost wisdom of the past, which ultimately gave birth to the Enlightenment and the Age of Reason. It was a time of intellectual flourishing, of compassion for humanity, and of understanding our shared history. To live in the spirit of the Renaissance is to be a steward of both the earth and each other. More than a philosophy, the Renaissance spirit is a way of living, learning, growing, and thinking. If you're looking to explore life's vast possibilities, I encourage you to subscribe, share, and join our community. And don't forget to take the quiz to see if you too embody the Renaissance spirit. So, what say you? Will you heed the lessons of Cicero and history, or will you, like so many before, allow them to fade into obscurity? Thank you for watching. Our channel, known as the Renaissance Spirit, is dedicated to the pursuits of a just, equitable, and humanitarian world, and how and why we all need to be the solution to the issues facing us today. Video topics encompass areas including news, analysis, history, politics, religion, personal development, society, culture, social and environmental justice, and other topics of liberal arts and sciences, including ancient Rome and the Roman Empire, which is a great comparison and contrast of the modern world. Topics perfect for the true modern and egalitarian polymath, a person with an open mind and the thirst for truth in its many forms and disciplines, a journey through knowledge, reason, and time. The Renaissance ushered in a golden age and the pursuit of knowledge. Knowledge both lost to time and yet to be discovered. It gave birth to the Enlightenment and the Age of Reason and the Age of Humanism. embracing truth, knowledge, and an understanding and compassion for humanity and our shared history opens up the world to each of us, individually and collectively, enhancing our stewardship of the earth and our relationships with one another. Living the Renaissance spirit means engaging with history not as a distant past, but as a living dialogue, constantly informing and enriching our present. And the Renaissance spirit is a reminder of our dialogue with the future, our progeny and posterity, our legacy. Will we grant them a future free from fear of climate change and tales of the end of democracy? Will they admonish us for our sins and omissions, or will they remember us fondly as saviors of humanity and the natural world? Please take the quiz next to see if you're a Renaissance spirit. The Renaissance spirit, more than just a philosophy or style, but a style for living, learning, growing, and thinking. Please subscribe, turn on notifications, and share. If you're looking to explore and experience life in the steps of the true masters of the Renaissance and free thinkers throughout our past, present, and future. So, dear traveler through time, let us continue this journey together, finding inspiration in the stories of those who came before us and those who come next, and forging a future guided by equality, wisdom, and compassion. Vive Renaissance Spiritus. Until next time, my dear friend, may reason and compassion guide your every step towards peace, love, understanding, wisdom, and enlightenment. Take care. History has not died, only our understanding of it